Good morning, Year 10. Welcome to our lesson on Friday, the 8th of January. So just as normal, we're going to start with a quick five. So here are the questions if you want to pause the video and have a go at these, and then unpause it when you're finished. Okay, well, hopefully you found these to be not too tricky. We'll just go through the answers quickly and you can check what you've done. So for question 1a, write 0.25 as a fraction. So this one you might just know that 0.25 is 1/4. Otherwise, this is 25 hundredths. So you could have written it as 25 hundredths and then simplified it to maybe 5 out of 20, which then goes to 1 out of 4. So it's 1/4. For B, write 50% as a decimal. Well, that one we should also know as a half, so it's 0.5. Question 2a, round 3,178 to the nearest thousand. So if we're rounding to the nearest thousand, we're going to find the thousand digit, which is the 3. The next number along is a 1. Now remember, the rule for rounding is if the next number is 5 or more, you round up. Well, 1 is not 5 or more, so we are not rounding up, so it's going to stay as a 3, and then the remaining digits become zeros, so it's 3,000. Now, we're rounding the same number to the nearest 100, so the 100 digit is a 1, and remember we look at the next digit along. Now this time it is 5 or more, so we're going to round the 1 up to a 2. So it's 3, 2, and then 0, 0, so 3,200. Question 3, ice creams cost £1.40 each. Levine buys 2 ice creams and pays with a £5 note. How much change should Levine get? Well, if she's bought 2 ice creams, that's going to cost £1.40 at £1.40. So she's spent £2.80, which means her change is going to be, you can either do £5 take £2.80, or you can think about the difference. What do I need to make this up to £5? And the answer is £2.20. Right, in question 3, Levine receives her change as exactly 4 coins. What could these 4 coins be? Well, I think there's a few different options, so I'll list a few of them. Hopefully I don't miss any out. So we could have a £2 coin, 10p, 5p, and 5p. That's one option. We could have £1, £1, 10p, and 10p. That's another option. There's a third option, which is that we could have £1, 50p, 50p, and 20p. I'm just trying to think if there are any more options. So we got to make £2. I think that might be it. So any of those 3 options. And then question 5, the cost of a taxi journey is £2 plus 50p per mile. Find the cost of a 10-mile journey. Well, that's going to be £2 plus, and then it's going to be 10 times 50p. Well, 10 times 50p is £5, so it's £2 plus £5, which is £7 for that journey. Okay. And 10 miles is roughly maybe the distance from Dorchester to Weymouth. It's actually a little bit less than that. Right, on to today then. We're going to look at some solving simultaneous equations, which is going to be sort of carrying on from the number puzzles that we looked at yesterday. So our title is going to be that. Okay, so we're just going to go straight into looking at an example. So example number 1 is going to be this one. Let's say that x plus y equals 7, and we want to find out what x is and what y is. Well, there's actually lots of different options here, because we could have, say, x is 6 and y is 1. That would work. Or we could have maybe x is 5 and y is 2. Or x is 4 and y is 3. In fact, there's lots of different options and we don't know necessarily which one it's going to be. So in order to narrow it down, if we have an equation in 2 variables, so the 2 variables are x and y, then in order to find a unique solution, we need 2 equations. So I'm going to give you another equation. So what if I tell you that x plus y is 7, but also 2x plus y is 12. Now, there's actually only one solution, okay, because we need to find a value for x and y that fit both equations. So, yes, there's lots of options for the first one. So for the first one, we could have like 6 and 1, 7 and 0, 5 and 2, 4 and 3, 3 and 4, 2 and 5, 1 and 6, 0 and 7. And this actually is only with positive whole numbers. You could also have negative numbers or decimals, so there are lots and lots of possibilities. But only one of them will also fit the second equation. So the way to do these questions is to compare the 2 equations. So if you have a look, in both cases we've got 1y, okay, but in the second equation we've got 2x, whereas in the first one we've only got 1x. So we've got 1 extra x, haven't we, if you look at them. And we can see that it's worth 5, because the difference from 7 to 12 is 5. So therefore, 1x must be worth 5. Okay. And so we can fill that in. X is 5. And if x is 5, and go back to the first one, if x is 5, then y has to be 2, because 5 add 2 makes 7. And then you should check that it works for both. So if x is 5 and y is 2, 5 add 2 is 7, and 2 5s add 2 is 12. Yes, that works. So tick, tick, and this is our answer. Right, so that's the first one. It's quite an easy one. We're going to do a second one and then even a third one, and then we're going to do a bit of practice. So example 2 is this one. Solve p plus q equals 10. Okay, so again there's lots of options here, but I'll narrow it down for you by telling you also that p plus 3q equals 18. Okay, so how are we going to approach this one? We want to know what p is and what q is. We have to find a value for p and q that actually work for both equations. So if we have a look, they've both got 1p, but here you've got 1q and now 3q's. So like before, if we look at the difference, we've got the same amount of p's, but we've got 2 extra q's, because we've gone from 1q to 3q's. And on the right hand side, we've gone from 10 to 18, which is plus 8. So what that means is we know that our 2q's, just make that a bit bigger, our 2q's equals 8. And you could have the pluses in here. And so if 2q equals 8, then if we divide both sides by 2, Q must be 4. So we can fill that in. Q is 4. And if Q is 4, then what would P have to be? Well, P add 4 equals 10, so P needs to be 6. And then remember, always check your answers to these. So 6 add 4 equals 10, and 6 add 3 times 4, well 3 times 4 is 12, 6 add 12 equals 18. So it works for both, so we've got the right answer. It's really important that you check that your solution works for both, because it's really easy to get a solution that works for one, but not for the other one. Okay, we'll do one more example, and then we'll do a bit of practice. Alright, example 3, a bit trickier again. This time we're going to solve u plus v equals 11. Again, lots of possibilities, but to narrow it down, I'll tell you that 3u plus 2v equals 30. And you need to tell me what u and v are. Okay. Well, it's an interesting question because what can we do? Well, like before, let's say, right, here, what have we got extra? We've got from 1u to 3u, so we've got an extra 2u's, but we've also got an extra v. And on the right hand side, we've gone from 11 to 30, which is 19. So we can say then that 2u plus v, or plus 1v, equals 19. Okay, well how does that help? Well, here's the trick. If you now compare this equation, which I'm highlighting in yellow, with this one, you can see that they've both got 1v, but we've got one extra u, which is worth 8. Okay, so just to make that clear, I'm going to rewrite this top one, u plus v equals 11, next to it, so that we can see it really clearly. And so now you can see that it's got one extra u, and it's worth 8 more. So we know that 1u equals 8. And if u is 8, what does v have to be? If u is 8, v would have to be 3 to make 11. And again, so we've checked it in the first one, check it in the second one. 3 u's, so that's 3 8s, 8, 16, 24, and 2 v's, well v is 3, so 2v is 6, 24 and 6 makes 30. So because it works for both, that's our answer, and we're done. Okay, so what I want you to do now is I've put some questions in a Google form, okay, and it's just multiple choice. So I'm going to put the link in the comment, okay, and I'll just show you what it's going to look like. So when you click on the link, it's going to look like this. And so all I want you to do is I want you to just fill in your name, first name and initial, so I know who's done it. Okay, please be sensible there. And then I just want you to go through and have a go at these questions. Now, you're probably going to need pen and paper, so I want you to work them out with pen and paper, and then at the end you can just pick their multiple choice. Now, do be careful, because if you look at this first one, m plus n equals 9. Well, all of the options will give you m plus n equals 9. So I've given you all options where they add together to make 9. So you need to consider the second equation in order to work it out. So again, if you want a method that isn't just guessing, look at the difference between the two. What's the second equation got in addition to the first one? You know, what's it got? Has it got extra m's or has it got extra n's? And how much is that extra part worth? And then see if you can fill it in. So have a go through them. There's 10 questions. I'm just sort of trying things out at this point. So, you know, we'll see if the Google form is a good idea or not. It's different to my maths. You know, it's meant that I could pick the questions exactly what I wanted, whereas with my maths I had to go with a worksheet that was already there. So have a go, see what you think, and then at the bottom, please, if you've got any comments or feedback, you can let me know. Not just about this lesson, but about anything. So you can let me know if you prefer live lessons, or if you like these ones with recorded videos, if you like my maths, if you prefer something like today, or if you prefer something like yesterday's lesson, where I just sent you the questions and the answers, and you sort of tried it out and marked it yourself. So that's it. Thank you for this. If you submit your answer here, I'll look at them later on today and I'll give you some feedback on Teams as a group and by email individually. Thank you.